At first, I really wasn't sure whether I was going to do this video and share about something as personal as anxiety publicly on my YouTube channel, because usually I keep those conversations behind closed doors on Patreon. But when King Charles went out with the fact that he is going to do surgery on his enlarged prostate, and he did it because he wanted to raise awareness, I was like, you know what? I can talk about anxiety if King Charles can talk about his enlarged prostate. And really, I'm doing this video only so that I can inspire, maybe give you some ideas or plant some seeds, because I'm not a doctor, I'm not a psychologist. I'm just somebody who have had anxiety, and in 2023 I was able to cure my anxiety, and I have been anxiety free now for 6 months. I'm not saying I have cured it once and for all, who knows, but I feel like I've learned certain tools that have really helped me reduce the anxiety and pretty much make it non-existent. So let me share you exactly what I did. So first, a little background. I've had anxiety for about 5 years, and coincidentally, it started when I started my business, but I've always felt like I have probably had anxiety maybe dormant inside me, because I think it has come up from time to time throughout stages of my life. Especially when I was younger, I was dealing a lot with my anxiety through escapism. Sometimes I would indulge in partying and things like that, only to escape this kind of anxious feeling that I was constantly carrying. But then sometimes life would get better and then maybe the anxiety would reduce. But I think for sure I've always had some form of inclination towards anxiety, and it definitely got activated when I started my business. I'm sure that therapists can probably explain this, because when you are under stress, under pressure, your body naturally enters some form of fight or flight mode. And that's ultimately what causes a lot of anxiety in a lot of people, because you are constantly in this kind of a fight or flight stage that back in the days would serve us to escape danger. But in modern times, it just causes anxiety, that we're stuck with this awful feeling that can manifest in all kinds of different ways for people. And it doesn't just go away, even though there is no danger. So when you start a business, because of all the moving parts, everything from the fact that you might be understaffed to the fact that you might have staff and that you feel pressure of having to kind of provide for everybody in the company, maybe also being in the public eye, as that's the nature of my job, has its own pressures and its own stressors. And then just the kind of day-to-day element of running a business, but being just, a regular person with no prior experience of running a business in their early 30s on top of it, definitely you get a good taste of the pressures of being in this role as a business owner. What was interesting about my anxiety is that it wasn't just like, oh my gosh, anxiety is here, it's so awful, and that's it. No. My anxiety started to kind of develop very gradually. In 2023, about 5 years after it had gradually started, I came to a point where I really admitted to myself that I feel like my anxiety has really gone out of control now. Some people think that anxiety only manifests through fear or panic, or just, some form of discomfort inside your stomach. But actually, anxiety can manifest in so many different ways. My anxiety was very much fear related, and I felt like I started to accumulate more and more and more fears. And something that made me get really fed up one day in 2023 was when I realized that one of the things that I love the most, I'm starting to become afraid about. And that had to do with horses and horseback riding. I grew up as an equestrian. I took a break of 15 years. When I came back to the equestrian world, everything was fine. But then all of a sudden, I started developing these random fears that I would never have before. And mind you, at first I thought, oh, okay, well, maybe it's because I had this long break. And, of course, horse riding does carry a little bit of risk, so maybe it's normal that I feel this way. But the problem is, it just got worse and worse, and to the point that I started becoming afraid of doing some really simple things. I bought even a second horse to calm my fears because I thought something was wrong with my first horse, only to realize I was also afraid of my second horse. I told myself in 2023, no, I've had enough, it's time to do something about it. I actually made a list of all the fears. And I want you to know that anxiety-led fears and phobias are just slightly different. So I am not rid of my phobias because I do have fear of heights, fear of air travel, but there were just some really random fears, like fears of walking my dog, fears of driving my car, fear of being locked in like an elevator or similar with unfamiliar people, fear of illness. Actually, I also developed health anxiety and death anxiety. I also started having this fear of having a heart attack. I don't know how many times I went into the emergency in the middle of the night because I thought I was having a heart attack. I did not have a heart attack. I was just having anxiety. But this is such a really common situation and phenomenon that really start making people feel crippled. I also had a lot of intrusive thoughts. There's also something called pure O. I had some form of milder version of that. I had panic attacks. I had a lot of mood swings. And at first, I thought mood swings was just part of my character. I did not realize that that was actually how my anxiety was manifesting. I would just get low mood for no reason. My whole day could be ruined, just for nothing. I want to remind you that all of this didn't just come one day at once. No, it started to develop and they just started to become more and more and more. It became just worse because I wasn't doing anything about this anxiety. I was just kind of thinking that it was normal. It was part of who I was. So for full transparency, I want you to know that for about 8 years, I have been in counseling. I have been doing psychodynamic therapy, and my anxiety was definitely something that was really prevalent in my therapy sessions. I would speak about that quite a lot with my therapist. And I remember one day asking her, or more so voicing the fact that, I feel like I'm reaching a point where I am quite worried for myself because this is not getting any better. And the therapy is not helping me with this anxiety. I think I could be potentially ready now to explore the world of medication. I just want to quickly tell you that I am not against using any form of medication to treat any anxiety or depression or anything like that. I think it's really up to each and everyone what works for them. In my world, I was kind of open towards the idea at that point. And I spoke to my therapist about it, and she actually thought it was a good idea as well. I think she saw the helplessness in me and the fact that it was really starting to take over my life, and especially taking over those activities that I was doing on an everyday basis, and I was now not able to do them anymore. And it was incredibly crippling. So once my therapist gave me kind of the approval for consulting with a psychiatrist of starting medication for anxiety, I did reach out to a psychiatrist here in Geneva. She was a bit weird. Or maybe I was weird. I still don't know. But I had my assistant just reach out to her, as my assistant reaches out on my behalf to many places, asking if it was possible to schedule a consultation. But that psychiatrist seemed to take quite a bit of offense the fact that I had my personal assistant reach out and not myself personally. So we got a bit of an unpleasant answer back. Anyway, she said that
she currently has a wait list and does not take any new patients.
Okay. Then I kind of stalled on that project and I felt a bit, put off maybe. But around the same time, as I was stalling on the kind of medication journey, a thought hit me. Like, have I really tried everything? I mean, surely I've read loads of books on anxiety. I've spoken to my therapist about it. I've tried to change things around. I cut out caffeine. I started exercising more. But I felt like even though it helped me to a certain degree, it didn't really cure my anxiety. So I felt like, let me see if there's anything else I can do. So I just want you to know that I am not affiliated with the Linden Method. I'm not sponsored. I went on their anxiety retreat. I paid with my own money. So the Linden Method is created by this man, Charles Linden, and they organize in-person retreats in Birmingham. This was August 2023, and I booked myself to this retreat hoping that, let me give this a shot. If this retreat doesn't work, then I'm just gonna seek out another psychiatrist when I come back to Geneva. So this was a 3-day retreat. For 3 days, we were going through kind of all the theory about anxiety, but also about the actual method. So this Linden Method, they actually do have an online course. I do recommend taking the course. I took the course myself. I thought it was helpful. It definitely covers quite a lot that we learned at the retreat. But of course, the in-person retreat, I'm kind of very happy that I did it because it gave me some good knowledge and insights that maybe wouldn't have stuck with me if I just took an online course. But I'm just saying that for myself. I know if you are curious about this retreat and you might not be able to travel, Well, definitely an online course is better than nothing. At the retreat, we got to meet many different people. Everybody had kind of different issues, but yet we all had the same issue, which was anxiety. The point of the retreat was to really emerge into the knowledge, into kind of the method. And then once you come back home, you start implementing the method and everything that they taught you at the retreat. From my perspective, I felt like there were certain things that I learned at the retreat that definitely helped me with my anxiety. But I'm gonna be fully honest, is that I didn't actually end up doing the program 100% because my anxiety kind of disappeared very early on, pretty much around the time as I came back home from the retreat, and it still hasn't come back, which is why I kind of did the program a little bit once I came back, but not 100%, because I just felt like there wasn't the need for it. I don't know if that's a mistake. I guess we'll see. So let me tell you exactly what action I took. First and foremost, gathering the knowledge and understanding anxiety. Now, definitely I would attribute that to the anxiety retreat, because 3-day intensive of just knowledge made you become almost like in the moment, like an expert on anxiety and really understand yourself or kind of see the issue from a different angle versus before when you just saw it internally. Some of the things that they really advised was that when you do their program, you make sure that you stop with anything that kind of supports your anxiety, whether that is going and seeing practitioners. In my case, I would go frequently to see the doctor. They also advised to stop with any form of counseling while you're doing their method, which is something I did. I took a break from therapy. They also advised to stop focusing on your anxiety and stop kind of identify yourself with anxiety. And that's something that I noticed that I had really started to make anxiety almost part of my identity. It was like, okay, I have anxiety now, the world has to change. I realized at the retreat, no, the world is not supposed to adapt to your fantasies and irrational fears. You have to actively disconnect from your anxiety. So you have to stop talking about your anxiety. You have to stop identifying yourself as an anxious person. One of the things that I decided that I'm no longer going to reference my anxiety. I'm not really going to talk about it, which is also why I haven't really done this video up until now, because actually I've been wanting to share this a long while ago, but I'm like, let me heal first and then we talk. One thing that I personally found quite difficult at first was disconnecting from anxiety altogether. That means stop reading books on anxiety, stop listening to podcasts on subjects of anxiety, stop calling your therapist all the time, that kind of thing. I definitely didn't realize that I had really created a world around my anxiety and that it was now like a family member in my household. It was me, my husband, my dog, and my anxiety. Sorry, I'm laughing only because it's healing and not because anxiety is funny, because it's not. Something that I felt was quite difficult for me, and that was to force myself to forget my anxiety memories. And I know that this may feel controversial to some degree because one might think,
oh, so you're going to become delusional or in denial now.
No, it's while you're doing the treatment, because what you want to do, you want to quieten anxiety and the stressors of anxiety as much as possible, because your body, your hormones, they're all in this fight or flight mode. It's almost like a broken record being stuck. And to make it unstuck, you just have to quieten everything so that at least your body can catch up and be a little bit in a normal state while you're implementing things and doing certain action steps to heal. Going back to my horseback riding example, because one of my horses one time did something really minor, nothing dangerous. But for me, it felt like,
oh no!
It was like a moment like that, right? The memory of that situation kept going on repeat in my mind. So every time I would ride, I would just remember that little thing that happened long time ago, but I still remember it. And every time I activate that memory, my fight or flight mode starts becoming reactivated and my adrenaline goes up high and the cortisol level and all of that. And then you get a fear response, you feel anxious. And then you're just stuck again in the cycle of remembering this little memory of yours that might not hold any form of real threat or value, but you're just going through something really old on repeat every time you're doing this activity. And then the situation just gets worse and worse. So for me, I had to forcefully forget that memory. They did teach us about diversion of thoughts, and other tools which I found helpful. But one thing that really made me actually became quite a big deal for me. At the retreat, I learned about the human mind and how we all think differently. They say that the mind of an anxious person is going to be much more creative because of this ability to really get carried away in your thoughts. And ultimately, if we really break down like fear, anxiety, and anxiety as a whole, what actually happens is that you have a lot of thoughts that are not even true, and they all kind of stem from your imagination. So creativity is behind your imagination. So they say that, well, anxious people are more likely to have maybe a more creative mind, a mind that needs a lot of stimulation, a very active mind perhaps. Because, there are certain people, I'm sure you know certain people in your life, those who, they're never anxious. They're always really chill. They don't really overcomplicate things in their own mind. They kind of just take life as it comes. That is definitely not me. My mind is like all over the place, a little bit like this, thinking here, thinking there, already thinking 500 steps ahead, and just have all these weird things happening. Like, this is my mind. And what they taught us at the retreat is that from their experience, they have seen this as a pattern with people who have anxiety. So what you need to do, you have to take precautions and certain measures in order to really activate your active mind before it starts kind of galloping away in fantasy land and start inventing all kinds of thoughts that lead to anxiety. If you are an anxiety sufferer, you need to take action to really keep your mind busy. We're not talking about now being delusional or start cleaning our house for 10 hours a day just to not think about our anxiety. No, it's about engaging your mind with something that really stimulates it on the level where your actual mind is. Maybe you are understimulating your mind, and therefore your mind gets bored and starts running away and inventing things. So what I did when I came home, I definitely changed some things in my life around. I actively made sure to keep my mind busy, but activated by learning things. I actually went back to school. I'm now studying at Harvard Extension School, taking a course in psychology because it's fun and because I just want to keep my mind busy and really stimulated. My mind actually stopped seeking out as much kind of BS as it used to. It didn't really have time or kind of need anymore to start inventing things that weren't really true. It was almost like I had diverted my attention into the right places where my mind became more satisfied and therefore gave me less problems. However, of course, that wasn't the only thing that helped reducing my anxiety. One big thing that I did in 2023 was that I looked at my life and I looked at what really made me unhappy, what really caused stress, and what really caused pressure. And I was honest with myself and I asked myself, do I really need this in my life? Can I cut it out, or can I rearrange some things in order not to have this quantity or this kind of setup? I realized that my work was causing majority of my stress. So in 2023, I decided to simplify my business, cut some stuff out, reducing a lot of stress, reducing a lot of pressure. And let me tell you, that helped me a lot. And in your case, you might be thinking, yeah, but I cannot just, quit my job or do this or do that. If, let's say, that is also your stressor, you don't always have to quit something or just cut it out completely from your life. Sometimes it's just about changing something around it, or change a process, or maybe set some better boundaries. It really depends where the issue stems from. But it is important to actually act on what is activating your anxiety and not just be like,
oh, okay, yeah, my job is stressful, it's okay, but let me feel like crap for the rest of my life. I need to work, I need to make money. I'll live with anxiety and let it ruin my life.
Like, you can't really operate like that either. You have to be able to find some form of middle ground. Lastly, I was now finally able to horseback ride my horses and just be normal around my horses. And I would tell you that that has definitely helped me a lot as well with my anxiety. Doing activities that really makes me happy or truly energizes me while kind of balances me. I spend a lot of time in nature. I go horseback riding on the trail, and I do that at least 3 times a week. And let me tell you, every time I'm out in nature, I'm around my animals, I'm horseback riding, I'm on the trail, there is no more anxiety. Life is just so amazing. I am being energized. I am being so fulfilled that sometimes I've had situations where I actually felt like, okay, today I have anxiety. I don't know why, but it's just here. And I go to the stable, and instantly my anxiety goes away. So what I mean by that is that you should find and look for an activity, maybe a hobby in your life that balances you out, takes away the stress, if not fully, at least some of it, and then just do it over and over again as part of your ritual, because we all need it. We also have to look after ourselves. We need to exercise. We need to live somehow healthy if we want to feel good. But ultimately, we need to have that at least one activity in our life that just energizes us and making us feel sane. Don't let anxiety attach to the things you love the most. Don't let anxiety control your life. You have the power to get on top of this, to fix it once and for all. This is not a curse. This is an opportunity to level up your inner state. And I really hope that maybe some of these tools that helped me can help you. I will link them in the description box below. If you want to hear more about my personal struggles, my more personal life, then you can go to my Patreon, where I share more open and candid conversations, because there we get really personal and let our hair down. If you want to know more about how I recently changed my life, watch then this video, because I'm going to tell you why I'm now not as interested anymore in high society and luxury life as I used to be. I will see you in that video. Bye for now.